All right. Okay. Welcome everybody back to Soul Invictus. So this is going to be a video about death and reincarnation. Now, some people come in here like, "What? What are you talking about? You know, you're a Christian, right?" Yes, I'm a Gnostic Christian because of a lot of things that I have read and I've gone over. And you can stick around and listen to this if this is something you might be interested in. Please do. But I will go ahead and explain why. So here's the thing. I've read this numerous times, the New Testament and the Old Testament, a certain number of times as well. And it's a lot to read. I mean, it's just thousands of pages here, but we're going to talk about death, reincarnation, and all of that. So there has been some argument to it, and they post up their things on the web, and they want you to believe everything that they're saying, but they haven't read as much. And so I'm going to go ahead and give you my understanding here, and if you want to have some comments and all that, go right ahead. But let's go over this. So what we're going to first look at is Matthew 11:13. Then we're going to look at John 1:19, and then we're also going to look at John 8:57. Okay? And these are going to help show you a couple of things. Plus I'll read a little bit before this too. So if you're wondering, is this a King James? No, this is not a King James. This is a New American Bible, St. Joseph, medium edition. This is a NAB, New American Bible, Catholic Book Publishing Company. This is the book that I got when I was in school in a monastery, Catholic monastery, growing up, mind you. So yeah, I've read a lot of this. I've had to outline the Bible in the school, and I've read it numerous times trying to figure out a lot of things. So let's go ahead and read some of this here, and we can prove some points. So let's go to Matthew 11:13. Okay. So I'll read a little bit about this. I'll read probably a sentence beforehand, okay? So we'll read a sentence beforehand. So it says from Matthew 11:12, "From the days of John the Baptist until now, the kingdom of heaven suffers violence, and the violent are taken it by force. All the prophets and the law prophesied up to the time of John. And if you are willing to accept it, he is Elijah, the one who is to come. Whoever has ears ought to hear." Okay? Whoever has ears ought to hear. What does that basically mean? Whoever can understand this, take heed, take precedence, make sure you're understanding what this means. This is a big, big, big thing. Now, we can look at what John said, and we look at John 1:19, and this is the witness of John. I'm reading from this other website that's written this down here. "And when the Jews sent to him priests and Levites from Jerusalem, asked him, 'Who are you?' And he confessed and did not deny. And he confessed, 'I am not the Christ.' And they asked him, 'What then? Are you Elijah?' And he said, 'I am not.' 'Are you the prophet?' And he answered, 'No.'" So Jesus is saying that, all the prophets of the law prophesied up to the time of John. So he's saying John is the last prophet. Now, why would John say no? Why would he go ahead and say no? And why would he deny it? Well, John is saying what he thinks and he understands. It's also possible John is trying to hide from the law in a way. He might be denying it, and if we go back and we read some of John here. We get through a little bit of this, John 1:19, which I can get to here, is that so if we look at John 1 and we look at John 1:15, John testified to him and cried out, saying, "This was he of whom I said, the one who is coming." After me ranks ahead of me. So the one who is coming after me ranks ahead of me because he existed before me. From his fullness we have received grace in place of grace. Because while the law was given through Moses, grace and truth came through Jesus Christ. So he's saying right here too, the law was given through Moses, but the truth, the facts came through Jesus Christ. No one has ever seen God. The only Son, God, who is at the Father's side, has revealed him. John is actually advocating on the side of reincarnation here. Now, you're like, how is it possible? Well, it kind of says it right here. Right there. Kind of says it right there. Okay, so it says, John 1:15, John testified to him and cried out, saying, "This was he of whom I said, the one who is coming after me ranks ahead of me, because he existed before me." Now, in that context, John physically would exist before Jesus, right? It's not what John's saying. It's not what he's saying right here. Let's move on ahead. Now you're probably starting to pick some things up, aren't you? So let's look at this. Then it says, okay, we're going to John 1:19, right? The number 2, the book of signs. John the Baptist's testimony to himself, and this is the testimony of John. When the Jews from Jerusalem sent priests and Levites to him to ask him, "Who are you?" he admitted and did not deny it, but admitted, "I am not the Messiah." So they asked him, "What are you then? Are you Elijah?" And he said, "I am not." "Are you the prophet?" And he answered, "No." So they asked him, "Who are you, so we can give answer to those who sent us?" "What do you have to say for yourself?" He said, "I am the voice of one crying out in the desert, 'Make straight the way of the Lord.'" As Isaiah the prophet said, some Pharisees were also sent. They asked him, "Why then do you baptize if you are not the Messiah or Elijah or the prophet?" John answered them, "I baptize with water, but there is one among you whom you do not recognize, the one who is coming after me, whose sandal strap I'm not worthy to untie." This happened in Bethany across the Jordan where John was baptizing. So, what's happening here is, you're like, he's saying he's not, you know. These people asked him and he said he's not. This is a very stupid thing to go about and try to just say, well, he just said he's not, so he's not. He didn't even get the chance to do anything yet. John was supposed to baptize Jesus according to what Jesus had to say. It didn't happen yet. These people were here. They were going to put him on trial for saying this sort of thing. And he denied it just so that he could, you know, make sure that he had the chance to meet Jesus. John the Baptist's testimony to Jesus. The next day, he saw Jesus coming toward him and said, "Behold, the Lamb of God. He is the one of whom I said, 'A man is coming after me who ranks ahead of me because he existed before me.' I did not know him, but the reason why I came baptizing with water was that he might be made known to Israel. Jesus testified further, saying, I saw the Spirit come down like a dove from the sky and remained upon him. I did not know him, but the one who sent me to baptize with water told me, on whomever you see the Spirit come down and remain, he is the one who will baptize with the Holy Spirit. Now I have seen and testified that he is the Son of God. So what does this basically mean? Is John the Baptist covering his tracks? Is he trying to make sure that these assholes that are trying to come and persecute him or say something to him are trying to trip him up so they can have a reason to stone him? It's very plausible that John the Baptist could be lying in order to make sure that he has the time to see the Christ. Because if he just flat out says, well, maybe, I don't know, maybe it's possible, I've had some dreams, there goes his chance for this being fulfilled. He gets imprisoned right away because you'd be like, oh, conspiracy. No, it's not. It's absolutely not. If at this time you flat out came out and said you were God, you were going to get the death penalty. If you're going to say you are a part of this or you're a part of that, these Pharisees, these Jews, they were ready to crucify. They were ready to just stake you. You know, they were ready to attack you for any little thing. According to this, because, you know, I mean, that's a big claim, you know. And, you know, they're going to attack him if he just comes out and admits things. So maybe he couldn't admit it until he found Jesus, and then he saw what he saw and he had to proclaim based upon that. So he had to live to the point of meeting Christ in order to say so. Now, does that mean that he didn't understand his past life in a sense? People say you come here and your memories are erased. It could be that. It could be the fact that he's saving his own skin in order to testify to Jesus when Jesus comes. He's just keeping quiet and hiding, in a sense, until Jesus comes, and then he can proclaim who Jesus is. Well, why would he say, he was there before me, even though physically speaking he's not? It's because outside of this reality, there is no time. It's not like you think it is. Now, I'm also going to go into, and I just had the page up here, but I'm also going to go into John 8. John 8:57. Let me get to it here. Okay. I will read before this a little bit so you can kind of get an understanding, but come with me on this journey here, and we're going to kind of see some stuff. So, let's read from John 8:49. Okay? Jesus answered, I am not possessed. I honor my Father, but you dishonor me. I do not seek my own glory, but there is one who seeks it, and he is the one who judges. Amen, amen, I say to you, whoever keeps my word will never see death. The Jews said to him, now we are sure that you are possessed. Abraham died, as did the prophets, yet you say, whoever keeps my word will never taste death. Are you greater than our father Abraham, who died? Or the prophets who died? Who do you make yourself out to be? Jesus answered, if I glorify myself, my glory is worth nothing, but it is my Father who glorifies me, of whom you say, he is our God. You do not know him. Right here, Jesus is saying to the Jews, you don't know him. You don't know anything about him. Well, maybe a little bit, but you don't know him, not like Jesus does. But I know him, and if I should say that I do not know him, I would be like you, a liar. But I do know him, and I keep his word. Abraham, your father, rejoiced to see my day. He saw it and was glad. So the Jews said to him, you're not even 50 years old, and you have seen Abraham? Jesus said to them, amen, amen, I say to you, before Abraham came to be, I am. So they picked up stones to throw at him, but Jesus hid and went out to the temple area. What does this mean? Jesus saw Abraham before he was born. Before Abraham was born, Jesus saw Abraham. What does that basically mean? Jesus understands the source creator. He understands people that come into this reality, and he saw them before they even came to the reality. John was describing that Jesus was there before he was, even though, physically speaking, that's not factual from a worldly, physical understanding. What it means is outside of this world is a difference of understanding time, the concept of time, and how that plays out in a spiritual sense. So, is Jesus a time traveler? Is he just living outside of time? Does your body die and you still live on? So here's the thing. Jesus is saying, now people are going and arguing, well, he said no. John the Baptist said no, but if people are coming to persecute him or attack him or possibly kill him for claiming to be Elijah or whatever, before he was meant to describe Jesus Christ, maybe he fibbed in order to save his skin so he could describe Jesus to him. Even though John the Baptist is describing that he doesn't understand what Jesus, he doesn't understand the concept of what Jesus is trying to show him as well as he wishes he would. He saw the Spirit come down. He knows that he wants to be close to what Jesus is describing as the creator source. But I see these people taking John the Baptist's perspective of the fact that maybe he didn't understand his reincarnation. Maybe he forgot about it. A lot of people say that when you come here, your memory's wiped. I think it's possibly true for a lot of people. But it's either that or he's trying to save his skin so he doesn't die that day, because he was waiting to proclaim Jesus Christ. And if he died that day, he wasn't able to proclaim Jesus Christ. Well, what good is a prophet that dies before it's able to actually prophesize? What good is it? You might be like, oh, conspiracy. No, it's not conspiracy. These are real things that happen in the world. If somebody had to say something and live on to say something, they might do whatever is necessarily possible in order to live on to actually, speak the truth or say the words they need to say. It very well can happen. You don't show your enemy all your cards. I'll tell you that much right now. You do not do that. It's detrimental to you and, detrimental to, your goal. It's detrimental. And so was John wrong? Jesus says back here, if you're willing to accept it, he is Elijah. Why would Jesus say this? You gotta wonder. So anyways, that's what I wanted to kind of talk about a little bit here too. But I'm going to go and I'm going to describe some of my personal understanding, some of my personal background, and what I understand as far as death and reincarnation goes. Now, this is going to be a little personal here. So let's get into this real quick. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and talk about death and reincarnation. So I'm going to go ahead and be a little personal here. And I'm not going to get too into too many details because some of it's a little personal, and I don't really know everybody that's watching on the internet all the time. So, I'd rather explain some things more in detail with family members than just random people on the internet. No offense, but when I was younger, let me just start off by saying that I'm going to describe a event that happened when I was younger, and there has been other events like that, some dreams, and some out-of-body experiences. So I'm going to do this. This is my personal experience here, and so let's go into it. So when I was younger, I was in a car accident. My dad drove into a vehicle at 40 plus miles an hour, and because of whatever medication the hospital gave him, which wasn't actually good, it only took me a couple of years ago to find out from my mom about how that wasn't good for him. That actually was very detrimental, which actually made him pass out while he was driving with myself. And whether it was due to that or whatever, I was not buckled in. So I was sitting in the front seat, and I flew into the into the windshield, and I spiderwebbed it, and I cracked some of the glass that it was just gone. And I could have flown through the window and possibly like slid down and maybe decapitated my head over something like that. So I could have been dead, and in some ways I wonder, like, should I be here? Through the grace of Jesus, I think possibly I am. And so I was in a very bad car accident, and my dad, he was under particular kind of, I don't think it was a medication. I think it was something they were doing at the hospital with him. And I don't know why any of that happened. I still have to ask my mom about some more of that stuff, which doesn't make any sense. But it was almost like he was not there. When we were about to crash, I'm like yelling at my dad. I'm like, there's a red light, there's a red light, there's a red light, and he's just like staring like a zombie, like straight forward, like, and we just crash. And so I remember pushing into the window, and it feels like I pushed through it in a way, but I really didn't push through it. I pushed through it, and it felt like my skull and my being like a layer, like of skin, like you're shedding skin or something like that. It was gone. And I'm seeing these orbs of light and this vast darkness around with these other orbs of light, and there's some other colors there, but there's also, it was a really weird place. And I just had this feeling like, wait, I'm not supposed to be here. And so like, I'm like, wait, I'm definitely not supposed to be here. And it was a really strange thing. And I started yelling to pull myself back to this reality. Like I felt like I was not there. And I was like, I think 9 or 8 at the time. I was young. And I just yelled, and I felt this echo, like, and I had to like really feel like I'm pulling myself back to this reality. Like there's probably different levels of dimensions that you move through to get here. And when I got back here, I could feel myself pull myself here, because I even told my mom, and I told other people, I yelled myself back into this reality, which other people are like, no, you just dreamed. You weren't there. So don't tell me what I did, because you weren't there. Okay? So I had to, and when I was in this orb-like being, I didn't have eyes or anything. It was like you could see everything. You were just this ball of energy. So you can just kind of like, you're looking in front and behind you at the same time, basically. So you kind of can see a lot of stuff. You can feel, it's not really mostly, it's a sense of sight, but it's more of a feeling. Like everything kind of turns into a feeling in a sense, more than light, more than eyes, more than you can describe with that. But I had to yell my way back here, which I know doesn't sound like it makes sense, but I guess the fact is, if you're out of body, you're not going to have a body to use. You're just energy. And so when I came back here, I was sitting in the back. I was like humped over the back seat, like the top of my body was laying in the back seat of the truck, the door open, and my legs were hanging out. And I don't know if it was the person that we hit that came and helped me move, but I don't remember getting from the front seat of feeling like I was like going to be crumpled up in the window part of the dashboard to the back seat. That doesn't make any sense because my dad was still like humped over the steering wheel, and he was kind of like moving around and just kind of getting himself back in a position. How did I move from being in the front dashboard to the back seat after just stopping? How did I move like the right front seat to the back seat with the door open? It had to have been someone that has grabbed me, pulled me out of the dashboard to some degree, and then put me in a back seat, and then probably went to check on my dad. I don't recollect any of those events, but this was such a serious thing that I remember most of that. Besides being an orb and seeing other orbs of light, I don't remember having conversations with anything. I just remember feeling like I'm not supposed to be here. Like maybe it wasn't my time. Maybe this is just, I'm supposed to see this and recognize this. You know, you are energy. You are eternal energy. You don't die. Your body can die, but you don't die. And that's what happened when I was a little kid. So besides that, you know, people will be asking like, did you see Jesus? Did you see this? Did you see that? It wasn't a feeling of, oh, there's Jesus. Oh, there's this. Oh, there's that. It was just a feeling of like, I'm not supposed to be here. And then I come back. And I think the fact is, like, what Jesus had to say was, you're either a son or a daughter of his father, or you're a slave. You get to choose what you're going to be. So your life is based upon your own particular choices. That's key. That's important. Because I just think that's pretty important. But the fact is also, like, this was when I was like 8, 9, or 10. I don't remember exactly when the accident was. Like, I'm getting close to 40. It's like almost 30 years ago. Probably look at the exact timeline and all that, but that's still almost 30 years ago. I don't remember all the details of like what I felt and what I saw, because when you're in this reality, I can tell you what I felt and what I saw, and it felt like a dream. It felt like a dream reality, but a very vivid and real, and I had to do this particular thing this particular way in order to come back here, and it felt like, you know, shocks and vibrations in order to get back here. It had that kind of feeling. And so what I'm going to go into now is I'm going to talk about dreams, and I'm going to talk about out-of-body experiences. So I'm going to talk about some out-of-body experiences. I had a few different out-of-body experiences. One of them is, and this happened like about 4 years ago, I had this out-of-body experience. I felt like I was, you know, I found this temple, right? Everything's silver. I, you know, was on this lake, but the lake was kind of like a jump pad. And I just had this feeling of how to get off. And I jumped off, and I'm like flying through space. And I'm seeing the back of Mars. Apparently there's like this machine on Mars that I could figure out. Like I do a lot of strategy videos, and I try, you know, I've worked on a lot of machines and vehicles and things like that. And I troubleshoot a lot of stuff. Apparently the idea was to maybe give me the idea as to how to fix this machine on Mars. And I'm like, I don't really want to. Like, I don't care. And, you know, later on I just thought about it. I'm like, I guess there is an idea that I could do something there at a past or future tense, but I don't want to. I don't care. It's like, why? Sure, it's a complex thing, but, you know, it just didn't make a lot of sense. Like, why am I doing it? What does this have to do with anything? Like, is there something on Mars? You know, and I've been looking at a lot of people that have been posting things about Mars and, you know, stuff like that. I'm thinking, this is really weird. Why is this? You know, I don't care. I don't want to have anything to do with it. And it just was strange. And I've had these other ones where, and when I'm out of the body, as soon as you go out of the body, you hear and you feel this rushing of water and stone moving. It's like a stone, obelisk or something like that is just grinding on the ground, going, you know, just, and you just feel and hear this rushing sense of water, and you're like ejected into this other sense of reality, which feels more real in so many ways than like just being here. It's crazy. It's crazy because it feels more real. And even when I was younger with this orb, that's why I remember it so vividly, because it felt so real. Like, I can feel myself, I can understand myself, but I don't have a body. I don't have the body. There's no body. Because when you're in your spirit form, you're in your soul, you're not in a body. You're just energy. You're like a ball of light. Like, people will say they take these pictures of orbs and you know, that's supposed to be the spirit energy or signature or whatever. Maybe that is. I don't know. It's hard to say. It's just like when you're there, you're a ball of light. Like everything here in this physical reality is condensed form, balls of light, which turns into energy and magnetism and everything else we see here. But besides that, yeah, that was one of the experiences. I have a few more I could go into, I could describe. But to make this not a very, very long video, I'm going to go ahead and talk about dreams that I've had. And so another reason that I've talked about Cathars in a sense is that, you know, they do understand reincarnation. And there's a lot of them that believe that they've reincarnated here from past life that they didn't get to fulfill. And to some degree I understand, but, you know, to some degree I don't. And the fact is, like, some of my dreams that are here, and I think why a lot of the time I feel like very different, is that I've had dreams from the past. Some of them I was underwater. Like, I wondered if I was like living, in an underwater kind of environment of some kind. Like if, I don't know how to describe it, but that was an interesting one that I've had a few different times when I was young. Haven't had a lot of those dreams lately. I know some people will be like, well, those dreams just describe, a particular thing that you could go into or you could get to. And I've had those dreams and I get those dreams. I've looked at a lot of dream interpretations and I've read about a lot of understandings of that. And I do get those kinds of dreams that do help me understand a particular instance or perspective of what I could do with my life to help myself improve. And I've taken those dreams and I've understood those and I've used that to help myself. And I was very grateful for some of that understanding. but I've had some dreams that have helped me feel like I'm connecting the dots of a past life. And one of my past lives, I feel like I was on this plane of reality, this world, and I can just feel this was not Earth. There were blue trees, the sky was a different color. I finally realized I did something that was a bit heroic, but other people could contest that it was I was more of a protagonist, and I took, I was a part of a group. We had to do a particular mission, and we accomplished the mission. I was kind of the front runner for the mission. I was the lead. I was kind of the lead person to take charge of the assault. So, I did what I had to do, and there's a lot of times that I want to talk about this, and I feel like I can't really go into too much detail because I feel like with the way time is, the way Jesus describes time is that it's like if I say everything about what it was, then I could potentially change time, or someone else could try to potentially change time by messing with my timeline. Which I know sounds strange, but I don't know what to say. I don't know how to describe it.